This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. In today's session, we'll see how to configure our file adapter to perform a write operation. In the previous session, what we did, we configured the file adapter with the read operation, and the input, the objective of this file adapter is read the file from an inbound folder. Read the file from an inbound folder. If the file name expression matches with the configuration in the adapter, we configured the file name, right? Something like stu start.txt. If the name expression matches, then this adapter will read the file and it will also create a backup file in archive folder and delete the original file from inbound folder. After that, it will convert the file content, which is a delimited format. Comma we used as separator, right? Comma as a separator. We have delimited format data that will be converted into XML format. So once the data is ready, once the XML format is ready, that XML data handed over to your people process. In the people process, we are using on message activity, on message branch inside pick activity, or you can also use receive activity, but I have a purpose for this. So instead of going with receive activity, I'm using an on message branch, and I have shown you how to test this service, and we also did some observation on the instance. So now what I want to do is I want to continue the example, and I want to configure a write adapter. I want to configure a write adapter which writes a output file. Okay, we want to process the data and then write the file. So let's see how to configure write adapter. It's very simple, sir. You can use the same file adapter, but in the reference component. Write operation is a reference component. Read operation is a service component. Read operation is a self-start adapter as well. Only read operation behaves as self-start adapter. All other operations in the file adapter are reference adapters only. Okay, let me drag drop the file adapter in the reference section. Okay, so let me provide a naming convention. I will say file write stu result. Okay, we want to generate the result of each student, the total marks of each student. So I just want to put it as student result. Say okay. So even for this adapter, we don't have a WSDL handy. So I want to define it. I want to define it from operation and schema. Based on the operation, based on the XSD, I want to define the WSDL. Okay, let me click next button. Leave the default JNDA here. JNDA is a connection. I will clearly explain you further adapters. In file adapter, we use default JNDA, but in further adapters, something like FTP, database, JMS, we have to configure our own JMS adapter. I will show you. Click next. So here, if you see the operations, list of operations, what we want to do, we want to use the write file adapter. Okay, just click next. Right. So here in the previous example, we used physical path as the directory. So here, the write adapter is asking in which folder adapter need to write the file. Okay, so there are two options. Anyway, we already used this option in the read adapter. Physical path option we already used in read adapter. I want to use the logical name option. So when you provide logical name, you no need to give the outbound directory path. You can simply give a keyword. Later we will configure the path. I will show you how to configure the path. And not just here within the widget, within this widget, you no need to configure the path, but later you can do that. How to do that, I will tell you. Okay, but somehow we need to provide the path. But this is a logical name of my folder, and user defined keyword. You can give any user defined keyword as your logical name of your folder, outbound folder path. Later we will configure the path. I will show you. Okay, and then it is asking what is the file naming convention. We are going to write a file, right? We are going to create a file. When you are creating a file, what is the name you want to keep for that file? It's your choice. So what I want to do is student result underscore percentage. See, there are multiple options. When you use percentage, you can see multiple options for your file naming convention. You can utilize the timestamp. This is the timestamp. This is the sequence number. So let me use sequence number. Okay, dot txt. That means my outbound file name is something like this: student result underscore 1.txt, stu result underscore 2.txt, stu result underscore 3.txt. Something this way, my outbound file will start generating. Okay, in a file name, we are giving a name to our outbound file. Okay, done. So now I don't need any of this option. Just simply uncheck this one. Number of message equals to 1. I don't want it. So guys, read everything. Read every option. You may not use it. You may not use the option, but read every option. Okay, that will be helpful. Click next. Now it is asking for an XSD. We don't have outbound XSD handy. We don't have outbound XSD handy, right? So what I want to do, I want to generate an XSD. Okay, this is the icon. This will give you a wizard to generate the XSD. Just click this. You will get a wizard. Like we use the similar wizard, right? Even in the read adapter. I mean, this is a native format builder. We will see this wizard in multiple adapters, not only for file adapter. For all the adapters, wherever you need an XSD and XSD is not handy, we need to build it. When you want to build it, you can use this wizard. Okay, so this wizard will help you to create an XSD by using the sample data and some information from us, from the developer. Okay, let me click next. So here it is asking the naming convention. So let me give a name convention: file write stu result. stu result. Okay, file name stu result. Similar, what is the format we used for read adapter? File adapter student info. Okay, this one will say file adapter stu result. stu result. So naming convention is completely user defined. You can give some naming convention. I'm just following this format. Okay, click next. And of course, my outbound file also I'm expecting as a delimited file. Okay, and you need to provide the sample file here. It is asking how your file looks like. So hope we have the sample file, right? This one. See, on my desktop, I have a result sample file. Let me open this. Let me open this file in my Notepad++. Okay, see this student result. This is the student result file. I'm expecting student ID, student name, total marks. That's it. This is what I'm expecting. Okay, fine. We'll do that. We'll go to JDeveloper and browse the sample file. I already prepared a sample file, and that sample file I'm providing to this wizard. Desktop, on my desktop, I can see a sample file. Okay, student result. Done. Click next. Again, same configuration, guys. My file contains multiple records and all the records are single type. Next. So it is asking to provide a target namespace for your file adapter. I will say practice.com, and what is this? This is file adapter write operation. That's it. Okay. Of course, this file content will be converted into XML format only, right? XML format it will process. So what we need to do, we need to give the root element. Root element, I will say student result collection. Okay, this one student result. That's it. This is the array element. This is the array element which will be iterated, and this is the root element. Okay, this is the root element, and the sub elements are C1, C2, C3. Click next. Okay, so end of the line, each record closed with end of the line, records delimited by EOL, and fields delimited by comma. I want to separate the data with comma. The same thing we configured here. Okay, and now you can give your own naming convention. I will say student underscore ID. Second one, I will say student underscore name. And the third one is total underscore marks. something like this. So 3 subfields we defined. Click next. See the XSD. We got an XSD, student result collection, student result. Student result is an array element, and you can see a student ID, student name, total marks. Okay, and EVOL is the end of the record, end of the line. Each record closed with EVOL signal, EVOL character. Okay, click next and finish. So our XSD is ready. Again, we are back to the adapter wizard. So in this adapter wizard, we are almost done. Click next and finish. Now what happened? An adapter will be configured as a reference component in your SOA project. Okay, let it load. And very important thing, guys, when you configure this file adapter, either read operation or write operation or whatever operation it is, you need to observe the list of files which are created in your project. See, number one, you will see an XSD. It may be read adapter or a write adapter. You can see one XSD. We created one XSD in the wizard, right? Okay. And then you can observe a WSDL. See, for read adapter, we have one WSDL. For write adapter, we have one WSDL. Other than XSD and WSDL, there is a new file. Another file will be created called JCA file. JCA.jca file. See, for read adapter, we have one .jca file. For write adapter, we have another .jca file. Okay. If you open this JCA file, you can see all the properties you configured in your adapter. Suppose this is a read adapter JCA file. You can see physical directory. We configured the physical directory. This is the path of the inbound folder. We configured the archive directory. This one, you can see here, this is the archive directory path. Okay. This way, all the properties in your file adapter wizard, whatever properties you configured in the wizard, all you can see here. See the polling frequency. Okay, and the include files. I mean, which file you want to read by using this file adapter. So all the properties you can see here. Similar way, if you go to write adapter JCA file, you can see the write adapter JCA properties. So file naming convention, the outbound file name looks like this. And we want to write the file in a folder, but we did not provide the folder path. We did not provide physical path of the folder. Instead of physical path of the folder, we provided a logical name. How to use this logical name, we'll see in the program. So, but what my intention here is, whatever properties you configured in the file adapter wizard, read adapter and write adapter, that properties you can see under the JCA file. Okay. And of course, you can open this JCA file and you can modify it. Suppose you are not comfortable with 10 seconds, you want to make it 20 seconds, you can directly change this property. Okay, so one option is we can rerun the wizard. If you edit this wizard, if you click edit button, you can rerun the wizard. Okay, you can rerun the wizard and modify the properties, but it is not suggestible. It is not at all suggestible to rerun the wizard. What you can do is, if any property you want to modify, it's always better come to the JCA file and modify the properties instead of rerunning the wizard. I will tell you why it is not advisable to rerun the wizard. Give me some time to explain. Okay, but it is not a good practice to rerun the wizard. So if you think there is no other option, then only go for re-executing the wizard. Okay, otherwise don't do that. I will show you some reason. Okay, why I'm saying this is not advisable. Let me show you that. But meantime, I will continue the example. Now you can see you got the file write adapter, right? So see this, guys. We configured a logical property in this adapter. What I want to do, if you see this adapter properties, here you can see your logical property name. All the properties, not just logical, all properties you can see here. Okay. Anyway, in this composite properties, you can provide a value for your logical name. See, this is your logical name for your outbound directory, and here you can provide the value. Okay, let me give the folder path. So this is our folder path, right? Take the outbound folder path. This is the physical path. Go to your JDeveloper. Say select the write adapter, then you will get the properties. In the properties, you go to composite properties. In the composite properties, you can see the outbound property. This is the logical name which we configured in the adapter. And then value. In the value section, provide the path and enter button in your keyboard. You need to click enter button in your keyboard. If you forgot to click enter button in your keyboard, this property will not be saved, guys. Okay. And guys, this is very important. See, when you use logical property instead of physical folder path in the JCA file, see, in the write adapter, we are using logical property. The advantage here is this property will go to composite file. Composite file, the property what you configured, it will go to composite file. That means this file. Okay, let me show you this source. In the source, you can see the property. In the source, go to your reference section. Go to your reference section. You can see the logical path, logical property, and its value. And its value is your outbound folder path. Okay, done. So the advantage here is this you can provide at the time of deployment. I mean, composite properties we can change, right? Composite properties we can override by using config file. In the config file, we can override this property. I will show you while deployment. Okay, go to design. So now let's complete the configuration. Anyway, I just provided the property here. I just provided the property with a physical path, the logical property, and I provided a physical path value for this logical property. Okay, done. Now come back to your BPL process. Concentrate on the logic now. Just create a wire between BPL and write adapter. Okay, done. Go back to your BPL process. So here you can see one is read adapter, which your on message branch reading the data from this read adapter. And now we want to use this write adapter to write a file. So what I want to do, I don't want to configure any logic inside the on message branch, guys. Okay, what I will do, I will use a scope activity. I will use a scope activity, not scope. Yeah, we can use a scope activity, not an issue. You can use scope activity anywhere, sir. Some group of activities you want to collect, and I mean collection of activities you want to maintain as a single group. You can use the scope activity. Okay, so there is no restriction when to use scope and when not to use scope. Why it is taking time? So here what I want to do, in this scope activity, I want to configure my the business logic. I mean, what we want to do, we want to calculate the total marks for each student, right? That logic, I want to keep it in this scope. And then I want to write the data into a file by using this write adapter. We'll see that. Okay, see, we got the scope activity. I want to give a meaningful name. I will say scope for file write. Okay, file write. Done. Now open your scope activity. So here you need to configure invoke activity, any reference component if you want to call. That may be SOAP web service, REST web service, adapter, any adapter. You need to use the invoke activity. Let me call the write adapter. See how I am creating the wire. Okay, I created the wire. Done. So invoke file write. Okay, invoke file write. Or you can give some meaningful name. No need to be file write. I will say stu result, something this way. Okay, stu result. So here it is asking for an input variable. Observe. So stu result input variable. Stu result file write input variable. Stu result file write input variable. Any question? Any question? I want to create it as local variable, guys. Of course, you can change it later if you want. So some naming convention I provided here, and then I made it local variable. And observe here, there is no output tab. Output tab was disabled because according to the reference component, it will behave. Okay, our reference component is a file write adapter. There is nothing called output from this invoke. This is a one-way communication. We write the file over. Okay. Say apply and okay. Done. So we are ready with the invoke activity. Now I need to transform the data. So our input data is available in input variable. Input data is available in input variable. And whatever data we want to write in the outbound file must be available in this invoke input variable. This invoke activity variable should have the data. That means we need to do the data transformation between file read variable to file write variable. Okay, let's do, it's an array. It is the logic what we are discussing includes an array, right? That includes an array. So either you can go for a transform activity or you can go for assign activity. I mean, if it is a simple mapping, it is a simple mapping. So we can do a either transformation or you can go with a normal assign activity as well. Anything is fine. Let me use a transform activity. Okay, so I will go with the transform activity. Done. Okay, so now select the source variable. You can also use, I mean, the mapping what we are doing is a simple mapping now. Either you can use assign activity or transform. I am using transform activity. File read is the source variable and the target is file write. Okay, invoke variable. So now give a meaningful name to this file. I will say student result transformation. Student result transformation is my file name. Okay, apply. It's a simple transformation we want to do. So what we are expecting, student ID, SID, copy it as student ID, S name, copy it as student name, S name, copy this as student name, and I want to perform total marks. I want to calculate total marks. So how to get the total marks? There are 3 subjects, guys, not 2 subjects. If it is 2 subjects, you can add. You have mathematical functions here. You have mathematical function. You can use the add function. You can use the add function. So what you will do, the result must go to total marks. Result must go to total marks. But this source, it will accept only 2 elements. Observe. See, there are only 2 dots. Observe, it will accept only 2 elements as source. 1 and 2. Okay, only 2 elements we added as source, and the result goes to total marks. But we have third element as well. So for this, what you can do, there are 2 different ways you can do this. Number 1, you can go to the source view. Observe the code what was generated for total marks. And the total marks, you can see this is an XPath. This is an XPath. English plus Hindi marks, right? Similarly, you can copy this. I'm just showing you how to customize it. Plus paste it. And instead of Hindi, you can use the same keyword maths. So don't use any, I mean, no spelling mistakes allowed. It should be exactly same as your XSD. Okay, go to the design. See it, MATHS, maths, right? The same spelling we used in the source view. Okay, now if you observe the design, see what happened. 3 subjects added, 3 subjects. First one, second one, okay, and then third one. See the third one, it is going to the second special plus icon. Anyway, if you are not comfortable with source view, the same thing we can also do in a different way. Let me show you. Delete. I deleted the mapping. Use the add function. You can use the add function. Okay, English. Okay, we always first map the target. Total marks. Okay, so this function allow only 2 source elements, correct? So what I will do, I will use one more addition symbol, but inside scope of the existing addition symbol. Observe, inside the scope, this is a scope, the green color mark is a scope. Inside that I want to leave one more plus symbol. Done. Now we are using two plus symbols. So the result of this one, the second plus symbol, see here, the result I will connect with the previous one. See what I'm doing. Okay. Done. Now let's add English, Hindi. Okay. And the third subject I will add to the second plus symbol. Second plus symbol we already provided. See what I am doing, the result of first symbol, first edition and maths. I am adding by using the second edition symbol. That's it we are doing. Okay. English plus Hindi used in this one. English plus Hindi result plus maths used in this symbol. And then the total result going to total marks. Of course, if you go to source view, the same expression you can see. English, English, and then Hindi, and then maths. It's your choice, guys, whether you want to do everything in the design view or you want to go to source view and do little customization. Okay, done. Our transformation is ready. Okay, and now code is ready. Read operation, read the file in XML format, and we are doing the transformation and generating the outbound file content in XML format. See, the content is still in XML format. That XML format data we will give it to write adapter. So what write adapter will do, write adapter has the ability, it will convert your file content from from XML format to text format. Okay, CSV format, we can say comma separated values. Okay, done. So here let me generate a config file. I want to generate a config file. Go to composite. This is the composite file. Right click on the composite, generate config. You can see underscore dev. Okay, say okay. Done. Observe how the config file looks like. Import, service, properties. We have reference section. Where is the reference section? Component. Okay, see this, we have reference section. The advantage here is instead of physical path, if you use logical path in your adapter, that logical property is available that comes to your composite. The logical path property, it is a configuration of your composite file. It is a configuration of your composite file under reference section. So if it is in composite, the same property you can utilize it in your config file. What is the advantage of config file? By using config file, we can modify the property value before deployment. Suppose let's say this is the folder. This is a folder I want to use in my dev environment, but I want to use a different folder in my test environment. If I want to deploy this program into test environment, instead of E drive, I want to go for D drive. My inbound folder and outbound folder are in E drive, let's assume, sorry, D drive. Then what I need to do, I need to come back to the program and I need to change the properties. See, JCF file, read adapter, we are not using logical path, we are using physical path. Okay. For that reason, suppose instead of D drive, in the test server, I want to go for a different folder. What I need to do, I need to come down to JCF file and use a different folder path. So this is JCF file is part of your program. So that's a change in the program. So, but if you use your logical naming convention for the directory, for the folder, inbound or outbound folders, if you use the logical name property is part of JCF file. The value of this property is part of composite file. That becomes part of composite file. So composite properties you can replace by using your configuration files at the time of deployment. So this is the main advantage of logical property. Are we good, sir? At the time you can create one dev environment, one test environment folders, configuration files, and you can give different folder paths. Okay. Let me deploy and show you. Later we can change the folder. How to change the folder, we'll see. Deploy. Deploy the project. Let me go to the project under Sova Infra. Go to deployed composites. Okay, practice adapters. We just deployed it. August 10th, I just deployed this program. Go to practice adapters. Okay, right. So how to test this program, sir? This is a self-start program. It will start by its own. You don't need to kick the request from SOAP UI or Enterprise Manager, something like that. You just need to place a file in the folder. Let me go to inbound folder. Okay, this is my inbound folder. Let me open outbound folder as well. Go to, what is it? Example1 outbound folder. Okay, so if I place a folder, sorry, if I place a file in the inbound folder, it will create a backup file in archive folder. This is the backup file folder, and this is the outbound folder. Let's see. Let me place a file in my inbound folder. What is the expectation? This file should be picked up by the read adapter, create a backup in the archive, and then it will create the outbound file. Let's see. Anything wrong? I'm just trying to see any instances created or what happened. Conduct exercise to display the list of messages. Okay. August 11th. There is an error instance. Why? Open it. There is an error instance created. Let's see what happened. See, your adapter is retrying to process the file. Open it. It read the file. Okay, we received the input data. Oh, outbound errored out. Why? File outbound. Either not in any table form. Oh, sequence value failed. We used a sequence function, right? It is not working. It is not working. What happened? Looks like it's a version issue. What I will do, let me change it. Let me change the expression. I will let you know what is the problem. Maybe that could be the version issue in this 12.2.14. Let me edit it instead of sequence. See, here we are using sequence, right? Here, instead of sequence, use a different naming convention. Okay, percentage. Let's use this one. This also consider microseconds. I mean, my file name, I want a unique naming convention for my file name. So sequence is giving some error, right? Looks like version itself has some issue. I will use this convention dot txt. Okay, I just changed it. Finish. So now what I want to do, I want to deploy my code once again. You can also select the config file if you want. Next, finish. We'll see what happened. Okay, deployment finished. So now refresh your program. Okay, so the old instance aborted. See the file. Let's place a file again. Okay, now observe what is going to happen. STUABC. Okay, take the latest instance. So looks like the sequence expression has an issue. I will verify and let you know why that issue is coming, but by default it should work. I don't know, this version may have some issue. Every version, sometimes different versions, when they release different version, some options may not work like this. Maybe there must be an fix also available. I will check and let you know. Okay, anyway, instead of sequence, we use the timestamp for our file naming convention. Let me open this instance. Let me open the instance. See, file read adapter reads the file, give it to Beeple. Beeple process the data and give it to write adapter. Open this Beeple. You can observe here, file write adapter. Your file write adapter. Oh, there is one more thing. We mapped direct. We did the direct mapping, right? We should not do the direct mapping. We need a for loop. We missed the loop. Because we missed the for loop. Because we missed the for loop. Okay, we got only one record. Actually, we should not miss the for loop. Let me go back. In the transformation file, introduce the for loop. We forgot to introduce for loop. Let me right click on it, add the for loop. Okay, for each. It's an array, right? Source is our array. How we miss it? Source is an array. All records I want to process. So create the mapping for each. Now what happened? For loop will iterate it. For loop will iterate it and perform all the mappings. Go to the source view and observe whether the for loop configured or not. Yeah, now I can see the for loop. So we did the mapping, student ID, student name, and total marks. Total marks. Okay. So the mapping was reconstructed, observe. Done. So now if you deploy this program, now you will get the for loop as well. That means all the records will be copied into outbound variable, invoke variable. Okay, let me go back to wait for the deployment. Build is in progress. Okay, deployment finished. Now refresh your program and place a file in the inbound folder. I will name it as STUXYZ. Okay, I have a STUXYZ file. Let me place this file in my inbound folder. Okay, before placing the file in inbound folder, just for clarity purpose, I'm removing everything in the archive folder. Remove everything from the outbound folder. Okay, just place a file in your inbound folder. Now what happened? This file will be picked up, convert into XML, have a backup in the archive folder, and then generate the outbound folder, file in the outbound folder. Let's see. Okay, picked up from inbound. You can see a backup file. You can open it in Notepad. See, this is the backup file. This is backup file of inbound folder. Okay, close this, and then see, this is the outbound file. Open it. Observe, you got the result. Student ID, student name, and total marks for each student. Okay, you got the result. Of course, you can observe the instance as well. Go to instance, refresh. You can take the latest instance. Okay, you can take the latest instance. Observe here. You got the inbound file in XML format, and then you perform a transformation along with a for loop for each, and then finally your invoke activity hand over the XML format data. To your write adapter. So write adapter has the ability to convert the XML into CSV format, comma separated values. That is what we saw in the outbound file. In the outbound file, we saw the file content, right? Where is the outbound folder? Okay. So in the outbound folder, the file, whatever it contains, see this file stu result underscore, there is a timestamp. There is a timestamp to maintain the uniqueness. I mean, suppose the same inbound file, if I place it into inbound folder, okay, but this time I will get a different naming convention. See here, student result with a different naming convention here. That means I want to have a unique naming convention. This keyword, the expression what we used, percentage sequence, percentage timestamp, that expression will help us to have a unique naming convention to our outbound file. Okay, right. I want to show you one more thing. Suppose I told you, right, that we are using the logical property. What will happen with that? So let me create another outbound folder. I will say outbound 2. Okay, outbound 2. I want to use it as second outbound folder. Let me go to my program. Let me create a config file. Let me create a config file. One more config file I'm creating, this time underscore test. Okay, I'm just giving a different name for my config file. So here what I will do, instead of the first outbound folder, where is it? Import service property component section, reference section. Okay, so here I want to replace with my own folder convention, my own folder convention. Okay, instead of outbound folder, I'm giving outbound 2. Then what happened? Without modifying the JCA file, see this write adapter, I'm not doing any changes, and a composite file, I'm not doing any changes. Composite file is still pointing to outbound folder only. It is pointing to outbound folder. Where is it? This one, outbound property. Why is property is missing? Select this, outbound property. Okay, so this is the original folder. This is the original folder we used from the beginning. But what I want to do, I want to replace this property with a different folder path. That I want to do by using config file. In the config file, I provided a different folder path. Instead of outbound, I'm using outbound 2. Okay, let's deploy this code. See, my composite file still contains outbound folder path only. My composite file contains outbound folder path, but my config file contains outbound 2. So this is now how you want to deploy. You want to deploy outbound folder or outbound 2 folder, you decide. So at the time of deployment, you can take a decision whether you want to go with the dev. Dev means outbound folder, test means outbound 2 folder. So I'm selecting test. Okay, let's see. Deploy, finish. So this is the advantage of the logical property. You can modify the property at the time of deployment without touching the code with the help of config file. Okay, let's deploy the code. We'll see what happened. Okay, deployment finished. Now I will place a file in my inbound folder. I will place a file in my inbound folder. We'll see where it is going, whether the file, your service is writing the file in outbound folder or outbound 2 folder. We'll see that. Then observe, file went to outbound 2 folder. Outbound 2, not outbound. Because at the time of deployment, I modified the property value with the help of config file. Any question? Any question?
Archive files missing same, sir. In
Sorry?
archive, we are getting same.
Archive won't change. We did not modify the archive, right?
Yes, sir.
We
Yes,
modified only outbound directory in the write adapter. Archive folder and inbound folder are part of read adapter. Outbound folder is part of write adapter. We modified
yes,
only
sir.
outbound folder part. Okay. Suppose in the read adapter also, if you want to use the logical properties, in the read adapter, if you use logical properties instead of physical path, then the read adapter properties also you can modify like this. Okay, there is another thing. If we go to enterprise manager, see guys, here this is the project, right? There must be some option. See here, adapter, this is the project. Here, if you see service and reference properties, and you can see read adapter and write adapter, you can see the properties at runtime. This is runtime in server. Suppose if you select this read adapter, the read adapter properties are available here. Let's see. So I mean, even after your service was deployed, you have an option to modify your properties. Suppose if you see polling frequency, you can modify it at runtime. Okay, physical path you can modify at runtime. So this option is only for file adapters, file read adapter and file write adapter. So you can modify your properties. So JCA file contains the properties, right? Some of the properties you can see here. You can modify them and you can apply. I mean, if you click apply button, that will be modified. Okay, the same thing you can also do for write adapter. This is read adapter, right? Similarly, if you go to, you can also see the properties for write adapter. Go to write adapter. All adapters, your program contains 10 file adapters. All 10 file adapters will be displayed here. You can open each file adapter and change the properties. Whatever property you want, you can change it. So here, the advantage here is, if you want to modify the property at runtime, you can do that without redeploying the code. See, if you modify the code in JDeveloper, what happened? You need to redeploy the code. But if you modify the property at Enterprise Manager, you don't need to redeploy the code. You just need to save the property. Okay, this is the advantage. But there is a disadvantage as well. If you modify something here, that suppose polling frequency you are modifying from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Okay, that value will not be reflected in your JDeveloper. You modified at runtime, right? Whatever you modified at runtime will not be reflected in your JDeveloper code. Okay, that is the disadvantage. So you need to make sure what you are modifying, whether we need to go for modify the code in JDeveloper or modify the property in the Enterprise Manager. Okay, this is only for adapter properties. It is not possible for people process and other stuff in the composite, but this is only for adapter properties, file adapter properties. Okay, any question till now? You try it, guys. You can modify polling frequency, or you can modify the folder path. Something you modify and observe whether it is reflected in your code or not at the time of execution or not. Okay, just observe that. That's it about file write adapter. So any questions from anyone? Let me stop the recording.